Has the Caitlin Clark effect finally hit a turning point? A recent Indiana Fever home game has sparked intense debate after thousands of seats appeared empty, leading some fans online to speculate about a possible boycott. While attendance numbers have fueled discussion, there is no official confirmation that the empty seats were the result of an organized fan boycott. So, what really happened? Is this simply a one-game attendance issue? Has the excitement surrounding the Indiana Fever started to cool? Or are fans trying to send a message about the team, the league, or something else entirely? Over the last 2 years, Caitlin Clark has transformed the WNBA in ways few athletes ever have. Arenas sold out, television ratings reached record levels, merchandise flew off the shelves, and millions of new fans began following women's basketball. The Caitlin Clark effect became one of the biggest stories in sports. That's why recent attendance figures have caught so much attention. Social media quickly filled with theories. Some fans blamed scheduling. Others pointed to team performance. Still others claimed it was evidence of growing frustration among parts of the fan base. But which of those explanations are supported by evidence, and which are simply internet speculation? In this video, we're breaking down the attendance numbers, looking at what has actually been reported, examining how fans have reacted online, and discussing what these developments could mean for the Indiana Fever and the WNBA moving forward. We'll also compare today's situation with the incredible attendance boom that followed Caitlin Clark's arrival in the league and explore why expectations remain so high whenever she takes the court. If you've seen headlines claiming that thousands of empty seats prove fans are abandoning the Fever, you may want to hear the full story before reaching a conclusion. Because, as with many viral sports stories, the facts are often more complicated than the headlines suggest. The Indiana Fever have once again become the center of the basketball world, but this time, it's not because of a spectacular Caitlin Clark performance or another record-breaking television audience. Instead, fans are asking a completely different question. Why were there so many empty seats at a recent Fever game? Photos and videos from inside the arena quickly spread across social media, leading to thousands of comments and countless theories. Some people argued that attendance was finally beginning to decline. Others claimed the empty seats reflected frustration among fans. Still others suggested everything from scheduling conflicts to ticket pricing played a role. Within hours, the internet had turned a single game's attendance into one of the biggest talking points surrounding the WNBA. But before jumping to conclusions, it's important to ask a simple question. What do the facts actually show? Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, she has transformed the league's visibility in remarkable ways. Attendance increased across the league. Television ratings reached levels not seen in years. Merchandise sales surged. Teams moved games to larger arenas to accommodate demand, and road games featuring the Fever routinely attracted some of the largest crowds of the season. Because of that unprecedented attention, every Indiana Fever game is analyzed in extraordinary detail. When the arena is packed, people call it proof of the Caitlin Clark effect. When sections appear less full than expected, people immediately begin asking why. That's exactly what happened after recent images circulated online. Some social media users claimed fans were deliberately staying away to send a message. Others insisted there was no evidence of an organized boycott and pointed out that many factors can affect attendance at any professional sporting event, including the day of the week, start time, weather, travel, school schedules, ticket prices, and the opposing team. Without evidence of a coordinated campaign, it's not accurate to conclude that empty seats alone prove a boycott. Still, the discussion reflects something important. The expectations surrounding Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have become unlike anything the WNBA has experienced before. Every statistic is examined. Every interview is discussed. Every attendance figure becomes a headline. That level of scrutiny speaks to Clark's enormous impact on women's basketball. Before she arrived in the league, many games attracted far less national attention. Today, nearly every Fever game becomes part of the sports conversation, whether it's because of Clark's play, team performance, or broader discussions about the future of the WNBA. At the same time, expectations have continued to rise. Fans expect sold-out arenas. They expect competitive basketball. They expect continued growth. Whenever something appears different from those expectations, even for one game, it naturally becomes a topic of debate. The challenge is separating observation from conclusion. Seeing empty seats doesn't automatically reveal why they are empty. That's why examining the broader context matters. Was attendance actually unusual compared with previous games? Did external factors affect turnout? Or are people reading too much into a single snapshot shared online? Those are the questions worth exploring. Because regardless of where you stand, one thing remains clear. Caitlin Clark has changed the conversation around the WNBA, and every Indiana Fever game now attracts a level of attention that would have been difficult to imagine just a few years ago. Once photos and videos from the arena started circulating online, the conversation changed almost instantly. Instead of talking about the final score or the Indiana Fever's performance on the court, fans began focusing on what they saw in the stands. Were there really thousands of empty seats? And if so, what did it actually mean? Within hours, social media was flooded with opinions. Some fans argued that the empty seats were evidence of growing frustration with the team. Others suggested that scheduling, ticket prices, opponent quality, or simple attendance fluctuations were more likely explanations than any organized boycott. The truth is, empty seats by themselves don't prove why people stayed home. Professional sports attendance can be influenced by many factors, including game time, weekday scheduling, weather, injuries, late lineup changes, and ticket costs. Even so, the discussion exploded because the Indiana Fever are no ordinary WNBA team. Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the league, expectations have been unlike anything the franchise had experienced before. During her rookie season, sellouts became common. Road teams moved games to larger arenas to accommodate demand, and television ratings reached historic highs. Clark's popularity helped introduce millions of new fans to the WNBA. That's why even a crowd that would be considered excellent for most teams can suddenly become a headline when the Fever are involved. For example, one recent Fever home game drew more than 17,000 fans, falling only a few hundred seats short of a sellout. While that represented a slight decline from the frenzy of Clark's rookie year, it was still a remarkably strong attendance figure by professional basketball standards. Despite those numbers, social media continued to debate whether fan excitement had cooled. Some supporters insisted the league needed to do more to capitalize on Clark's popularity. Others argued that attendance naturally settles after the initial excitement surrounding a superstar's debut. Still others pointed out that one game, or even a handful of games, doesn't necessarily represent a long-term trend. Without evidence of a coordinated campaign, it's not accurate to conclude that fans were staging an organized boycott. What is clear, however, is that Caitlin Clark has raised expectations for the Indiana Fever to an extraordinary level. Today, every attendance figure, every television rating, and every social media reaction becomes part of a much larger conversation about the future of the franchise and the WNBA itself. As the debate over attendance continued, one fact remained impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA is unlike anything the league has experienced in years. Ever since she entered the league, Clark has attracted millions of new viewers. Television ratings climbed, ticket demand surged, and merchandise sales reached record levels. Teams across the league adjusted their schedules, moved games to larger arenas, and embraced the increased national attention that followed wherever the Indiana Fever played. That's why every conversation surrounding the Fever now feels much bigger than basketball. When the team wins, headlines celebrate Clark's influence. When the team struggles, questions immediately begin about coaching, roster decisions, and expectations. And when fans notice empty seats, the discussion quickly turns into a debate about the future of the franchise. Many longtime basketball fans believe this level of attention is actually a sign of growth. Just a few years ago, attendance at many WNBA games rarely became a national topic. Today, a single photo from a Fever game can dominate sports conversations for days. That's the level of interest Caitlin Clark has brought to the league. At the same time, expectations have become incredibly high. Some fans expect every Indiana Fever home game to sell out. Others believe every nationally televised matchup should set another ratings record. But sports rarely work that way. Every season has ups and downs. Attendance naturally fluctuates depending on the opponent, the day of the week, ticket prices, travel schedules, and many other factors. Looking at one game alone doesn't necessarily reveal a long-term trend. Even so, the Fever remain one of the league's biggest attractions. Whether people support Caitlin Clark or criticize her, one thing is undeniable. She keeps the WNBA at the center of the sports conversation. Every game creates headlines. Every interview sparks debate. Every statistic becomes a talking point. That level of attention brings opportunities, but it also brings enormous pressure. Players, coaches, and league officials know that millions of fans are watching more closely than ever before. As the season continues, the biggest question won't be whether one game had more or fewer empty seats. Instead, it will be whether the Indiana Fever can continue building on the excitement that Caitlin Clark has helped create and turn that attention into sustained success, both on and off the court. As the debate continued to grow, the conversation shifted beyond one game and one attendance figure. Fans began asking a much bigger question. What does this mean for the future of the Indiana Fever and the WNBA? For league officials, team executives, and basketball analysts, attendance is just one piece of a much larger picture. Television ratings, streaming numbers, merchandise sales, sponsorships, and fan engagement all help measure the league's growth. On many of those fronts, the WNBA has seen significant gains since Caitlin Clark entered the league. That's why many experts caution against reading too much into a single game's attendance. At the same time, the discussion highlights how much expectations have changed. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, the Indiana Fever weren't regularly making national headlines after every game. Today, almost every aspect of the franchise, from coaching decisions to ticket sales, is analyzed by fans, media personalities, and sports commentators. That level of attention is both a challenge and an opportunity. For the Fever, the focus remains on building a winning team that can compete consistently throughout the season. Fans naturally want success on the court, and many believe that sustained winning is the best way to maintain the excitement surrounding the franchise. Others point out that no team can rely on one superstar alone. Basketball is a team sport, and long-term success depends on player development, coaching, roster depth, and chemistry. While Caitlin Clark has brought unprecedented attention to the league, the Fever's future will ultimately depend on how the entire organization grows together. Meanwhile, WNBA fans remain deeply engaged. Some believe the recent attendance discussion has been exaggerated online, while others see it as a reminder that the league must continue finding new ways to attract and retain fans. Regardless of where people stand, one thing is undeniable: conversations like this simply didn't happen at this scale a few years ago. Today, every Indiana Fever game becomes a national talking point. Every interview is analyzed. Every statistic sparks debate. Every attendance number becomes a headline. That kind of visibility reflects just how much interest the WNBA has generated. As the season moves forward, the attention will likely remain intense. Fans will continue watching to see how the Fever perform, how the league continues to grow, and whether the excitement surrounding Caitlin Clark translates into long-term success for women's basketball. As the conversation around the Indiana Fever continued, one thing became increasingly clear: this debate is about much more than one game's attendance. Whether fans were discussing the crowd size, Caitlin Clark's impact, or the future of the WNBA, the underlying theme was the same: expectations for this team have never been higher. Every Indiana Fever game is now viewed through a different lens. When the arena is packed, it's celebrated as another example of the Caitlin Clark effect. When attendance is lower than expected, questions immediately follow. But the reality is that a successful sports league isn't measured by one night's attendance alone. The bigger picture includes television audiences, streaming viewership, sponsorship growth, merchandise sales, social media engagement, and, most importantly, the continued development of the game itself. On many of those fronts, the WNBA has experienced remarkable growth over the past 2 seasons. That's one reason league officials, teams, and sponsors continue investing heavily in women's basketball. At the same time, fans have become more passionate than ever. Supporters want to see the Indiana Fever compete for championships. They want to see Caitlin Clark continue developing into one of the league's biggest stars. They want exciting matchups, competitive games, and a league that continues building on its recent momentum. Those expectations create pressure, not only for Clark but for the entire organization. Every coaching decision is debated. Every roster move is analyzed. Every post-game interview becomes headline news. Very few players have entered a professional league with this level of attention. Regardless of where fans stand in the recent attendance debate, one fact is difficult to dispute. Caitlin Clark has brought unprecedented visibility to the Indiana Fever and the WNBA. The challenge now is turning that attention into sustained success over the coming years. If the Fever continue to improve on the court while the league continues expanding its audience, today's discussions may eventually be remembered as part of a much larger story about the evolution of women's professional basketball. For now, the conversation continues. Some fans remain optimistic. Others remain skeptical. But everyone seems to agree on one thing: the Indiana Fever are one of the most closely watched teams in sports today. As the season unfolds, all eyes will remain on Caitlin Clark, her teammates, and the WNBA as they attempt to meet the enormous expectations that now surround the league. Whether those expectations are exceeded or challenged, one thing is certain: the spotlight isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We truly appreciate every one of you who takes the time to support this channel. The conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and the WNBA continues to evolve, and we'll be here to cover every verified update as the season unfolds. Whether it's attendance trends, team performance, major interviews, or league-wide developments, our goal is to bring you balanced coverage based on facts, not rumors. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another upload. Your support helps us continue bringing you the biggest stories in women's basketball every single week. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you believe the recent attendance discussion is being blown out of proportion? Or do you think it raises important questions about the Indiana Fever and the WNBA moving forward? And what are your thoughts on Caitlin Clark's impact? Has she already changed the league forever? Or do you think the biggest changes are still ahead? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We read as many comments as possible, and we love seeing respectful discussions from fans with different opinions. If you have friends or family who follow Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the WNBA, be sure to share this video with them. It helps more basketball fans join the conversation and stay informed with context instead of relying on social media speculation. Also, let us know what you'd like us to cover next. Whether it's Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White, the latest Indiana Fever news, or breaking stories from around the WNBA, your suggestions help shape future videos on this channel. Thank you once again for your incredible support. Every like, comment, share, and subscription helps this channel grow, and we couldn't do it without you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the games, and keep checking back for more breaking WNBA news, Indiana Fever updates, Caitlin Clark coverage, player analysis, and the biggest stories from around the league. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.